Go stupid, go crazy. Welcome to the BZ Podcast. Zay and Britt, as always. I hope y'all week are doing well. Better than ours.
Yeah, this week sucked.
Yeah, this week seemed like it was super long, yo. Every month seems like it's like dragging.
I don't know, but it's really fast at the same time. Like, I don't even know if the week felt long. It's just every day just sucked.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tough time with the kids?
Fuck them kids, yo.
Oh, fuck the kids. You heard it here first.
I know, right? Damn, it was a little harsh. Hey. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean that literally. Sorry. I triggered anyone. Yeah, just long week. Wasn't the children's fault. And I got sick, so yeah.
How you feeling now?
Better. Can't complain, I guess. Much better than past days.
That's good.
Yeah. How's your week?
Update. I am cleared for all activities. My knee is feeling better.
Oh, snap.
I got the okay from the doctor.
Oh, snap.
The doctor said my knee was okay. And now we back. So now I'm back. I'm back.
Don't be trying to pop, lock, and drop it.
Oh, nigga, I'm going to dunk right now. What are you talking about? Nigga, shit.
Oh, my God.
Pop, lock, and drop it.
Zay gonna drop down, get his eagle on.
Hell no, don't leave me alone, girl.
Hey.
Yeah, shut up, yo.
I'm done.
Shut up. Oh, hey. You guys are here. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about, well, we're going to start with, I don't know if this is a code. Yeah, we're talking about money. We're talking about money. Nah. Recently, I want to say in the last like 2 weeks, I've been hearing the word reparations thrown around. And I don't know what to feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, I just heard it lightly. I didn't know until you sent me that little Trevor Noah little skit. He compiled all the different talks about reparations. I just know I heard some people bringing it up, Bernie Sanders. Then I did see that one clip. What was that? Like, was that Fox News or what? Was it a morning show?
It had to have been, but it had to have been.
She was saying something like, well, at least we ended slavery within 150 years.
Yeah. Well, clearly that's Fox. Clearly it's Fox. Let's just be completely honest.
But it's like, that's not a short time. And she's saying it took 150 years to finally get rid of it. Because it went on for over 400, so, You don't get a pat on the back for that shit? Stupid.
Nah, what's it called? Like, were we supposed to say good job? Oh, great, you're not slaving people anymore.
Thanks. Oh my God.
She said, no, but she said, do we get any credit for that? That's what she said. Credit for ending slavery? Oh, thanks. What? I can't. I can't. What are you about to say?
And then someone had said, oh my God, somebody was like making an argument against reparations. And what did he say? Oh, like what? 10 generations ago, you had a family member in slavery. 10 generations ago.
Yeah, I don't even think it was 10 generations ago. They don't even know.
Roughly, I would say it's like 3. Right? It's like 3 generations ago.
Yeah, more or less.
You have your grandparents, your great-grands, and your great-great. For us, our great-great,
high probability. High probability it was on somebody's plantation.
A great-great? All right, so my grandmother was born, not 1920s. She was born in the 40s. So then my great would have been around 20s. So great-great Yeah, that's 1900s.
I think my grandmother was.
1800s.
Yeah, I think my
late
grandmother
1800s.
was born in like 1912 or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm like a great for us.
Yeah,
that's the end of the 1800s. Fuck out of here. Shit was still going on. And if you want to take it a step further, for a fourth generation, a great, that's the fucking Civil War. That wasn't that long ago. It sounds like it's a long time ago. It's not that long ago. That was 200 years ago.
Yeah. They don't. That doesn't register on that end.
10
like anybody who could say that 10 generations.
That's what really made me mad. I said 10. You can't fucking count. You count on that goddamn money. Shut the fuck up.
All right.
10. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll stop.
All right.
Triggered.
No, but so I'm seeing a lot of it. I was talking to a friend at work, and he was saying he's deep into politics. We're gonna have him on eventually, because we be talking politics. We are not the people to be talking about it. But he was saying how one of the criticisms of Bernie Sanders from a lot of people in the black community is that he's not running his campaign, or one of the main bullet points of his campaign isn't reparations. And I'm getting to think that, like, I'm seeing other people actually say the words. I've seen like little clips where they ask Bernie about reparations, and he doesn't commit to saying.
Yeah,
he's asking.
Slide decking out that
slip. Because it's trouble, though. It's trouble just to say you want to give reparations.
I think too, for him, considering he's running again, I feel like now he's getting away from wherever his starting point was. You know what I'm saying? I think that he wants to win, obviously. So it's taking that bug is getting into him a little bit. So I don't think he's fully for the people anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because he wants that power. So I think that's why, like you said, he's not trying to answer it, because he doesn't want to be too far on one side. He wants to be appealing to more people. You know what I mean? So he don't want to box himself into being like, hey, I'm for y'all. So he can't be trusted.
You don't think he can be trusted?
Fuck that, no.
I don't think any of them can be trusted.
No, none of them. But, I mean, people used to ride so hard for him. I don't think he's the same person.
I think he might be, but I wouldn't. No, I mean, I don't know.
He was riding hard last election, was saying whatever but he's real careful now with what he's saying.
Well, from what I see, if I had to make an analysis on it, I would say he's being cautious with the reparation thing, because if you're banking on reparations or being able to deliver reparations, there is a population of people that don't feel as strongly, even within the black community. And reparations, I'm speaking of in the traditional form of just cutting a check. So when I've seen people ask him about reparations, he goes, well, what do you mean? Because I think the traditional form of reparations of just cutting a check is not a good idea whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that's how I would want it.
One, because if you're looking at the climate right now of the divide between races, white and black, giving black people money does not help the racial climate. They're going to be mad. But more so, if you give black people just money, however you determine it, you know what I'm saying? What's gonna happen? I didn't see y'all with y'all refund checks.
Well,
I didn't see y'all fuck up the bag time and time again.
I've seen online where they were saying that basically these different demographics of people have received some sort of reparations.
Very true.
How in what form did they receive these reparations?
I'm not sure.
A check, right? So
I think it might have. I know for a fact. I believe Jewish people receive reparations of survivors of the Holocaust, the people that were affected by the Holocaust.
Right. So, like, France, were they getting a monthly?
It was from France, though. It wasn't from us.
Well,
France paid for that.
How they did it? Like, what did they? Were they just giving them like a monthly amount? Like,
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not sure
what I was
how it works.
wondering. Like, in what ways? Because I heard too. I don't know which country in Asia. I feel like I don't know if it was the Japanese, because I know we did them dirty with the internment camps. I don't know. I guess I should have looked it up. I'm sorry, I was sick all week. I didn't do no research. Just on here But yeah, just giving a check would, especially when people don't know how to manage money, is just pointless. It's not going to benefit anyone. It's going to blow it on stupid shit, like you said, like how you do with refund checks. But if you give people, let's say, property, I mean, that's because that's how it started. 40 acres and a mule. Yeah. I'd rather have property.
But see, this is the thing,
than a damn check.
It sounds great to give people property. Mm-hmm. It sounds like that's what should happen. Mm-hmm. But like people, there's like we were learning this last week, or even the stuff that you're looking into. A lot of stuff you don't know about the financial aspect of just running your life. You just give people property. Do they know how to maintain that property? Do they know the equity in that property? Do they know, like, there's a lot of missing information. You can't, if you look at lottery winners, for instance, a lot of lottery winners end up going broke. Mm-hmm. So what happens if you cut checks or if you give properties and people lose these properties because they can't maintain these properties or don't know how to maintain these properties? All the money gets spent up and they're back to square one.
Well, maybe that would need to be a stipulation or some sort of clause involved where it's like, hey, we'll give you this, but you need to get this education along with it. And I mean, if you really look at it as far as like saying, reparations, education should be included because, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like that was something too that was denied. You know what I mean? As far as how to maneuver through these things and knowing the processes and stuff, we weren't included on that type of stuff. So it would make sense to, whether it be money management or, like you said, just knowing how to invest or just knowing what to do with a property, that should be, if they were to do some sort of reparation shit, there has to be some sort of education, involved. I think, strapped along with it, like some sort of requirement to get whatever it is. People still ain't gonna make people still sure ain't gonna do the right thing.
Well,
I mean, that's just human nature. You know what I'm saying? That don't matter what race you are. People make foolish choices and decisions, but I think that would make the most sense to me.
Well, I would say if reparations wasn't just this traditional way that we view it, I would say the best way to do this, I would forego, say if it was $100,000 to every person that was affected by slavery, every black person was affected by slavery. I would forego my immediate $100,000 in order to take that money and reinvest in impoverished areas. And when I say reinvest, I mean let's change the school curriculum. Let's teach people how to do their taxes. Let's bring trades back into school. Let's teach kids how to do HVAC or electrician or automotive skills. Like, they took that out of schools, and that really affected these areas. Right. Because you weren't learning trades anymore.
Right.
So if they came up with a plan to take whatever money they deemed appropriate for slavery, and reinvested it in the form of education, in the form of changing the curriculum of education, or in the form of building up certain communities that need it the most, I don't want it for myself.
Yeah, I mean, that's all good and all, but that's still not going to help, say, a 48-year-old person that's been struggling. You know what I mean? Like, that's good for the kids and possibly if they even stay in those neighborhoods and stuff like that. So yeah, that's always the goal, I guess. But,
what I'm worried about, what I would be more concerned about, and I understand there's the 48-year-old that had to deal with whatever that person had to deal with, but like, if I had to choose between taking care of the 48-year-old and possibly giving the future a better avenue, you know what I mean? And in turn, that builds up these communities that we've abandoned, that builds up their education system and could instill a different culture in certain communities as far as being financially literate or having a stable job, not feeling like they had to go into debt to get a job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want the future to be good.
That's fine, but the future is still being raised by the past. So that's the problem. It's like a bad cycle, because it's like you would have these kids doing, we still got these ignorant ass parents. So it's like it's difficult. And then too, you would want you'd want it so that everyone, I guess, would feel like they're getting, you know what I mean, like something out of it, you know. So yeah, I don't even.
I think it's more.
It's like I know it sounds like it's more trouble than it's worth.
Yeah, I think it's divisive. Like I think we're at the most, not the most, clearly not the most. There was slavery, but we're at a very critical point in race relations in America right now, and to go ahead and just throw money at people, at a certain people, there's going to be people on the other side that look at that as divisive, and they're going to have an issue with that, and it's not going to help the relation. But if we don't just single out black people and we focus just on poverty, I think that can help a lot of people. Now, the double edge of that is, you know, if let's say that's the angle they take, right? And let's say somebody who's against reparations for black people exclusively is okay with it going to impoverished areas. I think quite naturally, black people are going to gain benefit the most because there's a lot of black people in impoverished areas. So I wonder what type of eye opener would that be for that person who has an issue with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I don't want it to be exclusively black people, but then when you look at the numbers and look at the people benefiting the most from it, it is black people. That's going to do nothing but confirm that there's a discrepancy. There's a money discrepancy. Right. You know? So I think that would probably be the best way to go about it. I don't want them. Yeah, of course, I want the money, but you know what I'm saying. But if it can be used elsewhere,
at this point, like you said, just giving everybody a handout is just, I don't know.
And then it's like, how do you determine? You know what I'm saying?
Everybody got their little ancestry DNA nowadays. Right. Like,
there's gonna be some white person
right here. Where my check?
Right, where my check? Yeah, I'm coming for it.
I got it here. Oh, that's funny.
What I fear, though, is the way it's being used and how a lot of black people are just getting behind the idea of reparations for exclusively black people. Democrats and the way they're bringing it up, it seems very
it's very nasty right
gross.
Now. It's pretty gross. Yeah, I didn't know that was going on. That's like a marketing thing right now for their campaign. Like, yeah, reparations. Shut the fuck! Are you serious? Like, y'all are really getting low with this shit now.
Well,
really?
I'm saying,
that's
who
how
they
you're
competing?
securing the black vote this year. This election. That's how we're securing the black vote.
Yeah.
2020.
And you wanna know what's fucked up? I think it's gonna work.
Oh God.
I'm not saying that they're gonna win, but
I know what you mean.
It's
but
gonna secure
people are definitely gonna rally behind it, I'm sure.
Because the same people that I know would definitely fuck up the check are the same people that want to hear reparations in the person's vocabulary that they vote for.
I mean, yeah, but it's like the problem is too. It's like, you know, when you don't see that you have a way out. And you don't know that there's other options that are, that are available to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's we're all struggling out here. And, you know, some, of course, more than others. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you just see that as an out. Just like you said, you know, people get their tax return. It's just like, holy moly. Like, you know, it's Christmas again. So, but other people, you know, it's just, hey, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? So it all depends on your situation. But, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, people always want something easy.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And nothing comes easy, as we know. So, hey, if you think the government's just going to cut you a check, I mean, I wouldn't hold my breath.
Well, my thing is after that check is cut, then what?
Yeah.
Are you good? We good now? It's even?
You
get what I'm saying? As far as like, oh, we're straight now.
Like,
we cut the check.
All is forgiven.
Oh, all is forgiven, right?
Right. No.
And I just don't think it's going to be that.
No,
like,
it's only going to be forgiven. Especially when it's still happening now. Yeah, you're right. Like, it's so messy. Because it's not like people... It's still going on. There's still discrimination. There's still these, you know, race crimes. So they be like, you got your money, so Fuck you, nigga.
Right. Exactly. That's why I think
that shit gonna ante up. Because there's a lot of people struggling of all races, so...
I'd want to do more research to see how these other people that received some certain form of reparations, how they're doing now, how it was administered, and did it help relations? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'd want to do that research before I can really come to a viewpoint of it, but I just don't think that helps. I don't think it helps at all. Like, I think it's going to be short-lived, and I think we're too quick to go for the short-end goal of not thinking long-term.
Exactly.
You know? It's hard to talk about reparations without it coming off spiteful.
I mean, look what it's based in.
I know.
You know? Like, yeah, it's pretty much unavoidable. Oh boy, I don't know.
What would you do with that money?
How much did they ever put out an estimate of how much it's supposed to be?
Nah. And that's another thing. Like, people are saying the word reparations, and nobody has a definitive line of what that actually means or how that actually
how it's
can
like
be
calculated.
Done. Yeah, how is it calculated? Not only how is it calculated, is it prorated for different people?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Then, well, never mind. I was going to say, because like every black person necessarily didn't have the same
exactly
experience, like their family history didn't have the same like slavery experience, if I could say that in quotations. But I guess essentially though, if you're black in America, you still feel the after effects no matter what. So
you do, but how do we determine that?
Ways. But yeah, I'm sure that would come up. Well, how do you determine, and how much work your family put in versus that family line? And child, listen, we long gone today by the time they even try to figure that shit out.
Right?
Yeah. Where are aliens at? Can they just come down and just fuck up shit so we can stop talking about this dumb shit?
Well, not even fuck up shit. Yo, if aliens came down,
you're going to see unity. Oh, shit, it ain't just us.
You're going to see unity like you've never seen before.
That's what I'm saying, because I'm tired of all this nonsense.
Right, straight up.
We are so minuscule and just swear we are so important. We're not. Like, there's so much other shit going on that's bigger than us.
Yeah, so moving on. We'd like to hear what y'all think about reparations. Oh, before we move on, I do want to make it, like I was saying, there's no definitive line. Mm-hmm. So when these Democrats are saying reparations, it really is fluff. At this point, it really is fluff because everybody's saying we need to take a look at reparations. Nobody's saying they have a plan for it.
Yeah. Stupid.
So it's really just ear candy, y'all. Don't fall for that shit.
Right.
What I find interesting though, I think the dude's name Alex Yang. I think he's running in 2020.
Oh, okay. What party is he running under?
I don't know. Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Somebody tell us.
Probably independent.
Yeah, he's probably independent. But the term, I heard this term like some around like last year or whatever, listening to the podcast, universal basic income. Have you heard about that term before?
I came across seeing him talking on the Breakfast Club, I think it was, or something like that. Before.
What do you think about that idea?
And then I think you clarified it for me.
Yeah.
Do any countries do this already?
I know Alaska gets something similar. It's not a country, it's a state. But Alaska gets something similar that the government cuts them a check for pretty much living there. Mm-hmm. And they have like oil and stuff like that. So it's like they come, there's a whole bunch of businesses and stuff that work in oil or whatever. And for order for the government to make money, I'm butchering this, by the way, folks, but the government cuts a check pretty much for people living in this area, which all these resources are.
Right.
And I think they tried it in small populations.
Because, you just look at, and this man, you said Alex Yang?
Alex Yang, I believe.
So, he's speaking as far as for America?
Yeah, he's speaking.
This is only for America, or just like a global thing? Or?
Nah, this is for America.
All right. Well, we can definitely afford it. But, like, you look at just other countries and, you know, their healthcare system, maternity leave for both parents, just the other just benefits that these countries have that don't cost them money. You know what I mean? And basically, they're compensated. You know what I mean? Like, their doctor's visits and surgery and all that crap is so much cheaper when we are just bombarded. So I feel like even with this $1,000, it still probably wouldn't make up for what we have to pay living in this country with all the extra bullshit that goes on in this country. But so I mean, it's kind of like, yeah, it'll help, but then they're still raising the prices of insurance, rents, food, everything. You know what I mean? So I of course it would definitely help, but as good as it sounds, it's probably still not going to measure up to what the hell other countries get.
Yeah.
You know? But I mean, it would definitely, I think it's definitely doable. Shit. We definitely have the money.
Yeah. It's about appropriating money in other ways.
And then, you know, we'll go back into the economy like you mentioned to me before when we were talking about this.
All right, for those that don't know,
I know we're just talking about it.
Yeah, we're just talking.
Explain it.
For those that don't know what universal basic income is, it is a sum of money that the government would determine that every, I believe, person of age, person that's not in jail, will receive. So let's say it's $1,000 a month.
Wait, why are people that wait? You mean in jail or like
in jail?
So if they're out, they can still get the money.
Yeah,
okay.
They get it. So I believe
honestly, I mean, God, I guess that's rough. Because it's like, you know, people are in jail, they come out with nothing, which causes them to commit more crimes.
That's one of the benefits. That's one of the benefits. How much would crime go down if this person that gets out of
get out, they'll instantly start getting it?
Yeah, they would get it. They would get it again. Now, how much would that alleviate the pressure? Because we already make it hard for people to get jobs.
Yeah.
Coming out of jail.
Right. And I mean, it's 1,000. What was the estimate? You said 1,000 a month. Is that what he said?
Yeah, 1,000 a month. Or was that just an
example?
Well, I think that's what he's running on, like an extra $1,000 a month.
Because you're like, you thought like that ain't shit. But that's a lot to someone that has nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That would definitely be a help, you know?
Yeah. Well, put it this way. I ran across a stat that said a majority of Americans cannot afford a $500 setback.
Oh, hell no, right.
So that $1,000 is, and that's a majority of America. That's you and me.
Oh, yeah.
500, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so an extra $1,000 a month, that shit comes in handy.
Yeah, that situations like that. Something.
You know what I mean? Your car breaks down.
Yeah.
So this is off, I believe, his website, and I was having a conversation with some older folk at my job, and it's so crazy how, like, the mindset is so trained once you get of a certain age. Like, any new idea, they fight against it without even knowing how it could be implemented. Yeah. You know, like, so we're talking about universal basic income, and, you know, they're like, humbug, you just giving away money. Like, where's the money coming from? I was like, well, if you look into it, you can see some plausible places where they can get money into, but don't just say it's never going to happen.
Where did he say they could get the money from?
All right, so he said the means to pay for universal basic income would come from 4 sources, right? Current spending. We currently spend between $500 and $600. Well, before I say this, $1,000 a month would cost $3 trillion at face value. Yeah, whenever somebody says trillion, you know, like that shit, that means absolutely nothing to me. I can't even fathom that shit.
I know.
Trillion, nigga, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
But the source number 1 would be current spending. We currently spend between $500 and $600 billion a year on welfare programs, food stamps, disabilities, and the like. This reduces the cost of universal basic income because people are already receiving these benefits would have a choice, but would be ineligible to receive the full $1,000 in addition to current benefits.
Okay.
So if you're getting $800 in assistance, they're only going to give you $200 to make the $1,000.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Another one is a value-added tax. It's a VAT. It's called a VAT, VAT. I had to look into this because I had no idea what the fuck it was.
Right, I thought so.
Right, so our economy is now incredibly vast at 19 trillion up to 4 trillion in the last 10 years alone. A VAT at half of the European level would generate 800 billion in new revenue. A VAT will become more and more important as technology improves because you cannot collect income tax from robots or software. So what a VAT is it's a value-added tax. It's a different type of tax system. So instead of you go to the store and you buy something, you get taxed the 7%. So say you buy something for $1, the cost, the extra 10 cents that gets added to your purchase, the consumer is paying for all that. With a value-added tax, the tax gets placed upon every function during the production process. So I'll give an example. A farmer sells wheat to the baker for 30 cents, right? The baker pays 33 cents. That extra 3 cents represents the VAT, which the farmer then sends to the government. That's step one. The baker uses the wheat to make the bread and sells the loaf to a supermarket for 70 cents. The supermarket pays 77 cents. That 7 cents is the VAT. That's a value added. So each stage in the process of production, there's a tax instead of it all getting dumped on the consumer.
Okay. I mean, that would only hurt, I guess, small businesses.
Yeah, it hurts small businesses.
Yeah, it hurts small businesses. But those big businesses, their margins ain't going to be so wide because they get that shit at wholesale price for pennies. And then they're selling it for, that's why they're making that extra double bank. So it would seem like they should only apply that to, if you're making a certain amount maybe, but I don't know.
I'm not sure, but I'm going to read more into it, but there is pros and cons to a value-added tax. Like, it's not just a surefire great thing. There is ways around it. There is ways for people to jig the system, just like our regular taxes now, our income tax right now. But look into that, y'all, because we're not going to be able to cover that in full extensiveness during this podcast. If that was a fucking word, I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out.
We ain't gonna do it, so y'all gotta do it. Dang.
Well, no, we're gonna do it, but I'm not prepared to really
not
go
right
into
now. We don't have it.
I mean, I can do like some generic stuff. Hold on, let me see.
Covered enough. Move on.
Well, I can do like pros and cons.
Oh, okay.
Pros and cons. All right. So a pro is closing tax loopholes. A VAT would simplify. Hold on, I'm losing my spot. A VAT would simplify the complex federal tax code and increase efficiency of the Internal Revenue Service. I'm not going to go into any further than that. Another pro is a stronger incentive to earn. If a VAT supplants American income tax, it eliminates the disincentive to succeed. Complaint levied against the progressive tax system. No idea what that means. See, this see what that means. No idea what that means.
I'm done.
All right, so here's a con. Higher costs for businesses.
Yeah.
A con is encouraging tax evasion. In addition, while a VAT system may be simpler to maintain, it is costlier to implement. A tax invasion can still continue, even be widespread, if the general public does not give its wholehearted support. So it's really dependent upon ourselves. Smaller businesses in particular can evade paying a VAT by asking their customers if they require a receipt, adding that to the price of the product or service being purchased if lower if no official receipt is issued. Okay, so depends on good people. conflicts with the state and local governments. I'll leave that there. That seems very intricate. And higher prices, especially for low-income consumers. Those are the cons. Please read into this shit, y'all. I did a horrible job. But so that's one of that. That's one way we can pay that'll help pay for it. Universal basic income, and then there's a new revenue. This is putting money in the hands of American consumers would grow the economy. The Roosevelt Institute projected that the economy would grow by approximately 2.5 trillion and create 4.6 million new jobs. This would generate approximately 500 to 600 billion in new revenue from economic growth and activity. So you're not just giving people $1,000. People are still going to spend that $1,000 on something. So the money's not just getting hoarded. The money is going back into the economy. And then the fourth one is we currently spend over $1 trillion on healthcare, incarceration, homelessness services, and the like. We would save 100 to 200 billion as people would take better care of themselves and avoid the emergency room, jail, and the street, and would generally be more functional. Universal basic income would pay for itself by helping people avoid these institutions, which is when the costs shoot up. Some studies have shown that $1 to a poor parent will result in as much as $7 in cost savings and economic growth. So it costs a lot of money to keep people in jail.
Right, definitely.
So if you can keep people out of jail, you have people, and then give them money to work with.
Right, but then a lot of people also making money off of people being in jail.
That's why it's kind of far-fetched that this could actually happen, you know?
Everybody sucks. Just fucking hate this place. God.
You know, we hate this place, but it is really a good place to be. That's the fucked up thing.
But there's just so many problems in the world. Damn. This whole earth sucks.
Yeah. So what he's running on, Alex Yang, please look him up, is with universal basic income, these could potentially result in better children's health nutrition, higher graduation rates, better mental health. You're not stressing about, you living paycheck to paycheck, you're not stressing about where your next dollar comes to. Lower domestic violence. Guess people be scrapping off of being broke.
I mean, yeah, money is always like a major problem in relationships. That's probably the number one reason people break up.
And then a financial cushion for those living paycheck to paycheck. And I don't know about y'all, but I know a lot of people living paycheck to paycheck. What do you think?
I don't know. Overall, do I think it's a good idea?
Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a feasible idea? Do you think you can see it happening in your lifetime?
No. I think it. I think it sounds like a good idea, but there's too many fucked up people in high positions that don't want everyone to succeed. So it's very disheartening.
Yeah.
To even try to think that it might happen, but.
What would you do with an extra $1,000 a month? No, you can't say that. It has to go back into the economy. Then it doesn't work. Oops. Yeah. So hold on. If you had to choose, if you had to choose between reparations for exclusively Black people. Or universal basic income for everybody, where would you go?
At this point, the universal basic income, I ain't got time. We already got a target on our back. And I feel like it would still be I just don't, not say I don't trust white people, but I don't trust white people. So, not all white people, not all white people. Y'all know what I mean. Those crooked people up top. It's going to be something attached to it. They're not just going to give us fucking reparations. There's going to be something with it. You know what I mean? You want to get it, I got you, nigga. Something's going to... something is going to be attached to it. And we're going to find out when it's too late.
what I'm scared of the most is like, all right, so they ended slavery.
Like you said too, just the general, target, extra target. We already got a target on us. Extra target for why y'all get this? Why do y'all get this? What were you saying?
I think the thing that comes with it, as you're saying, is the assumption that it's even playing field after.
Yeah.
The assumption that you just cut a check and now we're supposed to be straight. So I think that's a dangerous thing because they ended slavery, right? Or we were allowed to vote. How many times have you heard racism doesn't exist anymore coming out of somebody, an uneducated mouth?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like now you give out reparations. Are we going to say, oh, it's over? It's good. It's straight. Right. We can't complain about, so since we got reparations, are we not allowed to complain about police brutality?
Right.
Or if we don't get reparations, we're not allowed to complain about discrimination or the higher incarceration rates.
Like, shut up.
Shut up. You got the money. You got the money. You got the money. Shut up. That's why I'm afraid.
Can't complain no more.
And then when you take into account that cats don't know what to do with money.
Yeah.
The bag gets messed up all the time. Niggas fumble the bag. You get the bag and fumble it.
I mean, that's just.
So everyone. Once you fumble that bag, you back to complaining?
Right.
Once you fumble that bag, you going, is it still racism?
Yeah.
That doesn't fix anything, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for the betterment of everybody, if I had to choose, I would go universal basic income.
Mm-hmm.
I actually see that being beneficial to a lot of people, and not just myself. I see that beneficial to everybody. You know what I'm saying? And even rich people would get it. They can opt not to take it.
Yeah.
I think it's something you opt in or opt out. I don't know how many people go opt out that shit.
Right.
$1,000. Right. Good. What would you said you would save it though, but if you had to put it back into the economy, what would you do?
I mean, I would invest it somehow. Yeah. I'm gonna try to find some way to flip it, like whether it's saving it up and buying something, or you know what I mean, just some way to generate more income.
Yeah,
pretty much. You know what I mean? I mean, God forbid if I'm in the position, you know what I mean, where I'm not working, then I ain't gotta use it. But if I'm still working and everything's still cool, that's what I would do.
Like imagine losing your job. Mm-hmm. But you can bank on $1,000 a month. Ain't shit,
but at least you can work, some little bullshit job until you get back on your feet.
Yeah, I think that would be a very smart thing. And one of his main focus points, the guy Ali Jang, he's saying that with automation, one of the biggest industries that we have in America are drivers or truck drivers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing self-driving cars, and they're going to get hit the hardest when automation comes. Mm-hmm. What do you do with these folks who don't have any other training in any other field but driving, and they can't outcompete a driving car? I think you can only drive up to 14 hours a day as a truck driver.
I mean,
like you're legally only allowed.
I bet that's even really long.
What happens when they're going up against the fucking Tesla? The Tesla 18-wheeler that can drive for 24 hours straight. Mm-hmm. So you gotta look at these people. When automation comes, you gotta find a way that people can live somewhat comfortably. Automation is coming, folk. Mm-hmm. It's coming, and it's going to displace a lot of people. So then what do you do with those people? Mm-hmm. These people don't disappear. They still need to feed their children. They still need to take care of their families.
Right.
What happens? So we got to start looking at different ways to do things. We can't just, like the older folk at my job, we can't just say, that's not what I have, You drive me nuts, yo. Like, they're so, like, older folks, they're so fucking, because they know, like, I'm not trying to sound morbid or anything, but they know they're dying. They know they're dying sooner, and they can care less about anything. As long as it just stays consistent until their last breath.
A lot of shit, so.
Right? Fucked up everything.
Shut up.
Hey, we want to know what y'all think.
Yes.
Please let us know what do y'all think about universal basic income. Give us your thoughts on reparations.
We can put out a poll later in the week. Hopefully you guys listen and you can answer so we can see what you think.
Yeah, definitely. I think that wraps it up for the day. I don't know what to talk about.
That's it. That's good.
That's good. Thank you for listening. Rate, subscribe, view, like, all that stuff. Give us ideas. Give us your thoughts. What can we do better?
Right.
What y'all love about us.
Right. All that.
Yeah, all that shit. All right, y'all.
All right.
All right. BC Podcast. Be out.
We out.